Hi, ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shalo Glow LLC, an all-natural skincare company that helps you glow from head to toe. I am a champion for your daily self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations between us and special guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
And we love to bring on awesome guests to help us with this.
Yes, it's necessary, and when I think about, especially the dimension of wellness that we're talking about today is who do you have around you that helps support you in those difficult times, right? We talked about how at the beginning of the year, we may have had an expectation of how things should be or what we would be doing, but this is the reality of what January 2nd held for you. How did you handle that? And when I think about Manifestation Mondays and Women Connected in Wisdom, I think about that time when I wanted to pull away. My mom had just passed away. I said, you know what? I'm going to shut down all this stuff that's pulling in this extra emotional, well, not pulling in the extra emotional, but that I feel like was me pouring out, right? And I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. But I realized when I was thinking about that I needed to leave some things. I needed to leave Manifestation Mondays. I needed to leave the social empowerment and the pouring in. So that's why I love what we do, because when it doesn't go as expected, you need the people that are there saying, hey, that's realistic because X, Y, Z, or you were right to not keep it the same because you had so much going on. Had it been the same, I might have been worried about you. And sometimes you need that.
Right. Well, I think especially as women, and I mean, most people deal with this, but we've often talked about it on the show, is as primary caregivers for often our communities, our friends, our families, our friend groups, a lot of times, right? That things come up, life happens, and there are things we deal with, including grief and loss and death and things that we have to pause or at least carry along with in the midst of everything else, right?
Absolutely. So
hey,
I
Karen,
say
we see you this morning or this afternoon.
Right?
Nice
Depending on what time zone you're in, right?
Right?
Yeah, she says wisdom. Thank you, Karen. So I say we jump right into the definition so that we can go a little bit deeper, bring our guests on and start the conversation. What do you say?
I love it. Let's do it.
Okay, guys. So today we're talking about environmental wellness, and environmental wellness is supporting your good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that enhance well-being. It promotes interaction with nature and also creating enjoyable personal environments, both in and out of your workplace. This includes knowing the types of environments you thrive in and having an intentional relationship with these places, including the earth.
Right?
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite dimensions of wellness. I think because, well, let me rephrase that. It's one of my favorites and it's one of my most challenging.
Okay.
So I think I want to have this conversation when Sacil comes on.
Ooh.
Cool. I just gave the clue of who our guest is.
She's amazing.
But a friend of the show and has been a previous guest and a previous co-host too.
Yes, she has.
As a guest co-host. So let's read her bio and bring her up and have this conversation with the three of us. Does that work?
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. You know and love her if you've been listening to the show. So, but I am going to read her official bio just for those of y'all that may be new to us. Sacil is a self-care and social justice facilitator, integrating self-care with equity and anti-racism training. Her teaching motto is no blame, no shame, no guilt, because those emotions get in the way of learning. She focuses on evidence-based techniques and ideas that not only make us feel good, but also increase our mental and emotional capacity to handle the new normal. She loves music, art, and laughter, and often dances her way into her trainings to set the mood. Even though change can be hard, she believes we have a reason to celebrate. Showing up to learn is a step towards making a positive change. Sacil is the founder of the online Everyday Activism Habit community, where members learn how and to and practice making social equity a habit. So I want to welcome to our stage Sacil Armstrong. Woohoo!
Hey, y'all.
Hey, we are
Hey.
so glad you're here, my friend.
Yes.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Right? We didn't want to leave you out of any of the conversation. You know how it works on the show. Sometimes we do an intro, especially if we don't know our guests, but you are part of our Manifesting Monday and part of the Women Connected in Wisdom community. So we wanted to bring you up here sooner than later. So I was saying to Shannon about how environmental wellness is one of my favorites and it's one of my most challenging. And even as I said it out loud, I was like, oh, I got to talk more about this. So it's my favorite because of the nature piece, right? Like and I know we share this. That's why I was like, oh, come on up to the stage. Getting out in nature is one of my go-tos for recharging, resetting, for being well. So I think about environmental wellness in that way, like being really positive. But then when I think about the organizational piece and the challenges of my systems and organization, it is sometimes my most challenging wellness one. And you two, like for those of y'all that are new listening to our show, you may not know this, but both Shannon and Sacil are amazing at organization and systems. Like they are rock stars at it. I, out of the three of us, am still learning. So what do y'all think about environmental wellness and when you think about this topic?
Cecile, you go first. What do you think about?
Okay. I was going to say this is one of my favorites too, because I like to be out in nature. Y'all know I'm always like, put your feet in the grass. When I say touch grass, I'm not just like being sarcastic like people online. I mean it. And then I like for my space to be pretty and comfortable. One of the things that I know about myself is when I was working for other people, wherever my office was or my cubicle, whatever it happened to be, when I would be away from work, when I would come back, people would always say, I hope you don't mind I worked in your space because it feels so good. And that was at every job that I had. And so that just like made me feel good because I know how to create, a nice space where people want to be. So yeah, environmental wellness is one of my favorites.
Oh, I like that. At first I was like, oh, they were on your desk. Did they touch something? What happened? Because I'm that type of person. If you don't have neat handwriting, please don't write on my paper. Like that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, no, here comes their pen, but I hear what you're saying on setting the mood. I like that your vibes are good, that they could be in there without you. When I think about it, and I mean, if you've listened to the show, you guys know that this is one where initially I knew that I wasn't able to wrap my mind around how relevant it was because I didn't always think about it. You think about nature, you might think about your environment, but now now that this is the 102nd show, right? Now I think about how much space I continue to take up. It's like keeping those boundaries. It's almost like the guardrails at the bowling alley, right? It's like, I can understand the situation, but we're not going to go there. This is what I need. And still keeping that space. No, you're not going to fit me in this little box, and especially when we're talking about Black History Month, I think about, is the environment that I'm in conducive to growth? Is it pleasant? Is it stimulating? And when I don't feel like it's that way, where do I go? And so, Cecile, thinking about you being on the show, both of you just came to see me at the Black Beauty Expo, made my day seeing you there, right? And I think about you, Cecile, how you were the first person I called. We're doing this photo shoot for Shalo Glow out in Atlanta, and this white guy calls the police on us. It was crazy. And I said, who? I feel like this is a big situation, right? I feel like we handled it well and we are so used to, I can handle it and continuing to go. But I feel like, again, this needs a little bit of space. So I'm going to keep the space for the situation and what just happened. Who do I call that can help me process this in a healthy way? So I was thankful to have certain people in my environment. And that's what else I've been thinking about, you ladies.
Well, and Shannon, you saying that about, when I think about that episode, I mean, that was environmental wellness, right? Like you were out in your community, in your town, minding your own business, doing your own thing, and it wasn't safe. And it's something that especially in America, like we have to look at. Cecile and I were watching the State of the Union address last night. And Cecile, I'd love for you to come off mute and talk about this a little, because it was addressed. Environmental wellness was addressed a little bit last night.
A little bit. Are you talking? Tell me which part you're talking about, because he addressed it in more than one space.
Right.
So,
Well, in both, I mean, he did in a couple of spaces, right? But it
mhm,
was interesting when you look at it from that lens, when you think about, well, he was talking about addressing police violence
okay.
and brutality in the
Mhm.
system. And I know it's all kind of overlapping. I need to be
Right.
more clear
That's why I was
for,
asking, which
I need
part
to
were
be
you
more
talking about?
clear for our listeners, because the three of us know this conversation, and it's like, that's the
Mhm.
danger sometimes about having your friends on. But yeah, thinking about, well, and he also talked about the reform he just passed for the biggest environmental package that was
Mhm.
also, like, it was
Mhm.
addressed several times.
Right. That's why I asked, which one are you talking about before I
Right.
get started?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You address
So,
whichever one you want to.
talking about when he addressed police violence, um, well, Christine and I were watching it together, and Christine was saying, "Oh my goodness, this has never been done before in the State of the Union." And then I was like, "Yeah, and he didn't go far enough." And so I thought it was interesting because when I looked on Twitter, there was the same response. Half the people were like, "Oh my goodness, he's actually saying something about it," and then the other half of the people were like, "Okay, he didn't say enough." Because my thing was listening. I was glad that he was actually talking about it. I was glad that he gave it the time that he did. I was happy that he was saying that what's happening isn't right. And when he started saying that we need to fund all of these things like, mental health services and, all kinds of social services, the last time he said that, he gave the money to the police departments so that they could figure out how to handle those issues. And so I was waiting and I was like, I didn't hear him say he was going to fund organizations that already do this well. That's what I wanted to hear. And so that piece of environmental wellness, I was like, I'm glad he said something, and I didn't hear the solution that I wanted to hear. Because if he's going to give more money to the police so that they can figure out how to reform themselves, which we know historically has not worked and will not work because police departments are working as they were designed, then what he said didn't mean anything. So I was coming from that lens, and Christine was saying she was glad that he was saying anything. So I was feeling kind of,
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a yes and. I
Mhm.
agree with you, because I definitely agree with you. More could have been said, and
Mhm.
the incremental step of it being said,
Yeah.
as my thought is, from that pulpit. It's not a pulpit, but you know what I mean. Like, from that
Right.
arena, and
Mhm.
in that big of a speech, I felt
Mhm.
like, yes, it was progress. Yes, we need more. I agree with you
Yes.
completely on that.
Yeah.
Well, but even thinking about environmental wellness in that, for folks who watched or didn't watch, I'd highly recommend watching it if you hadn't had a
Mhm.
chance to watch it. It was pretty powerful. But
Yeah.
there was heckling going on. Like, I think
Right?
about, there were a couple of things I think about. I think about his experience in that chamber
Mhm.
and how well he handled it. But I also
Mhm.
think about heckling. I don't know. I've just been thinking about environmental wellness. Like, right, where are we comfortable? Where are we not comfortable?
Well, he
Like,
was obviously comfortable there and
right?
used everything that happened to his own advantage. He was prepared and he was comfortable in that space. That was obvious.
Right? Where are
Mhm.
y'all most comfortable?
I think that I think that because I'm consistently uncomfortable and have been my whole life, moving so much, different schools, different jobs, I think that it's made me be intentional about the deep breaths, right? 4 breaths in, hold it for 4, out for 6 breaths, like they do on Headspace, whatever works, for that moment to take you out of fight or flight. I feel like my space, just like Cecile said, that I create for myself, that being the safe space is what's kept me feeling the most stable and safe.
Well, y'all know my space is the beach.
Mhm.
If I can get in the water, y'all know that's my spot. If I
Yeah.
can't get in the water, then if I can be somewhere in the grass, that's my other spot. And I will say that I am processing a lot of stuff right now to be more comfortable in my own body.
Mhm.
So that right there is a work in progress.
I hear you. And for
Mhm.
me, I love how you said the beach, and I always think about you and your story that you shared on Manifestation Monday with the dolphins. I was like on the way to work. I
Mhm.
said, "This is perfect." But I would say the mountains or the beach too. And I think for me, it's the disconnectedness, right? I love to be in nature and unplugged from cellular devices, from the screen, and just watching the grass blow, watching the branches blow, watching the birds fly. I do feel safe there too.
Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
What
saying
about you,
that about a
Christine?
Well, y'all know nature, like is outside water. If I can be by any water, like waterfalls, a river, the ocean, like the bathtub, like, I mean, I needed to be some water. But I was thinking about that, about being comfortable in our own bodies, right? We've talked about interplay on the podcast before. And I think that is the greatest gift that modality has ever given me, is getting me where I am accessing my body and comfortable in my body, and using birthright privileges like movement and storytelling and voice and stillness, right? I was on a class today. I was on an ensoulment class with Cynthia Winton Henry, who's one of the co-founders of Interplay. And we were doing an exercise about when did that get shut down? Or what were the messages that were given to us around like movement and storytelling and voice and stillness? Because it does affect our environment, right? Where do we feel comfortable singing? Where do we feel comfortable telling stories? And I had this kind of aha duh moment all at the same time, because one of the things I realized is I was allowed to tell stories when I was a kid. I was allowed to tell stories. I was allowed to write stories. I was allowed to use poetry to process my emotions. But work was valued over play and over fine arts, right? So what did I do? I've channeled all that into, I'm a writer, and we're doing Women Connected Wisdom, and we're uplifting women's stories. And I was like, oh, okay. It was one of those moments that I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's when we talk about purpose and the spiritual wellness aspect of it, right? I think that's when you can look back at when you were younger, what you like to do, what you would have preferred to do, and now you get to do that and make money. I think those are where those two things meet.
Right. And Karen's listening today, and Karen's also in our Interplay community, and says getting comfortable in our bodies when our bodies are hurting, literally and spiritually and emotionally too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a big thing, right? Is that when it is, okay, I was out here in Atlanta trying to help Atlanta glow from head to toe, and this person is trying to lock me up and whatever happens after that, right? And remembering that, okay, in this moment, instead of running away from it, I need to get in my body, come back here, pull all this energy that's trying to be taken other places here and process it, sit with it. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my team that was there? How do I follow up? And then what else needs to be done after that?
That holding space for the other people who were there is huge.
Yeah.
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 Well, I know you dropped this earlier, Shannon, but I want to circle back around and pick it up just for a second and celebrate you. So Sunday, Sacil and I showed up to the Atlanta Convention Center, big old space.
The International Convention Center,
International, by the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, rolled on up there and saw one of the best booths in the entire convention. Can we just give a shout out to you and Shayla?
Yes.
Yeah, we shouldn't even say one of the best.
Not
best.
one of, it was the best booth.
Dana, I told you, Dana. I told her, she said, what is this award? I said, I gave you the award, Dana. They can't take it away. They didn't do booth awards. We said you got the best booth. Okay.
Yeah, it was the best. It definitely stood out.
Thank you so much.
It ties into environmental wellness because you had the rehydration station, but you also had this beautiful station with the chair, and you could put on your headphones and listen to this beautiful spa music while one of your team gave a hand massage with the beautiful Shayla.
Okay, I'm going to just tell y'all, I haven't been going out a whole lot since COVID hit, right? So going out into that space with all of those people, I was already like, but I'm going to support my girl. And then when we got there, and what's her name? Deanna? Is that her name?
Yes.
When she was like, sit down, I'm going to give you a hand massage. And she was like, I already cleaned off the headphones. And when she put that on and I listened to the music and she did the hand massage, that calmed my nervous system right down. And then I was able to go, visit the other booths and go live because I haven't been on social media, but I was able to go live to talk about what you were doing and then walk around the rest of the convention center. I don't know that I would have done that if I hadn't been able to sit there and have the music and close my eyes while she did the hand massage first. That was like amazing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting here thinking about as we're talking about it and kind of reliving it. Like, what a great tool that we could each create in our own spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Because you created that in a short amount of time, Shannon. Would you tell listeners what you did? Because we could all create that in our homes and create like this little amazing oasis for ourselves, for environmental wellness.
Absolutely. And the way I thought about it, and I think it was on the Manifestation Monday call, right? We're talking about altars that we have to different things and different things that people put on their altars, right? For me, I have hydration stations. And so I do my hair and we had 2 different mirrors. I'll go with I'll explain the station with the products and then the relaxation station that they're talking about, right? Because for me, it's actually both. And both of them do the same thing. It's just a different type of way, how we talked about the 7 types of rest, right? So for the hydration stations, I had the olive oil in the water that I use. And I start with that because it hydrates my hair, right? And then I do the leave-in conditioner, because that's going to be the moisture for my hair. I cut that with water as well to prevent the product buildup since I have locks. And then I use oil and the butter. That's from Shaylo's Glow line. And that's what I was teaching them about, making sure that their hair is hydrated. Because again, we're going to glow from head to toe, right? The second station was about your face, whether you're applying the product in different places before you do your makeup, when you're on your way out, or if it's after you come back home and you need to unwind from the tension of the day, right? Those are the different times when I'm thinking about intentionally making space for myself or letting go of the tension of the day, intentionally thinking about, like you said, Sacil, maybe how overwhelmed I am in one situation and I'm over here doing this so that I can decompress, right? And the third station that I had on the other side of the booth, like you ladies talked about, was a relaxation station. And originally I wanted to have part of our audiobook playing because we're about to come out with that for volume 1, right? But like we said, the year's been going, I wanted to do this. This is where I'm actually am. And I'm putting together the booth. And we hadn't recorded the part of the audiobook, Christine, that I thought we were going to have, right? So things are moving, but what I know is that I have everything I need. So if we don't have the recording of Christine and I doing the audiobook, then we decided to go with some music. We had said that the part of the chapters we had, if they're not edited, we don't want to use that. And we also didn't want everybody that was going to come to jump into the middle of a conversation on one of our podcast episodes, right? That might feel like a lot in the middle of hundreds of conversations that you're listening to. And so instead, we decided to go with some lo-fi rain. I love the lo-fi playlist. The vibe is really calming and soothing, like Cecilia's talking about. She sets up for herself, and I definitely need that with everything that is going on. So we did that, and then we had the table, again, some disinfectant wipes for the sanitation for everybody so we could feel safe, you guys could feel safe. And we had this little poof where you just put your feet up so that you're genuinely taking the weight off your body, take a load off, sit for 30 seconds, give yourself a minute, and just be present, be whatever you need to be. And I think that really helps. And we got a lot of feedback on how much everybody loved it.
It was an experience.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And I really hadn't thought about until this moment, I could recreate that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I literally could recreate that.
Yeah.
And I have a space. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. And have a space that
just I could create in my own home that if I needed to recharge, because you said that it was a minute. Mm-hmm. It might have been 2 minutes, but I mean, what if we all had a place where we could put on those headphones? We could put on a facial mask or a warm towel on our face and just sit and be for a minute.
If you can create that in the middle of a convention center full of people, you can do that at home.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. Because it really did. It shut out all the chaos and the noise. You said it on the way home, Sacil. You were like, that was an oasis in the midst of chaos, right? That was environmental wellness in practice, Shannon.
Yeah.
Well
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, Sacil, I want you to tell listeners what you've been up to. And because you're rebranding. And so we wanted to have you come on and we wanted to talk about your work in relationship to environmental wellness also, because it really is. So
Okay. All right. I can do that. Thank you. Yeah, I am rebranding my business to the Everyday Activism Habit. Um, uh, y'all know I'm always talking about activism. Y'all know that everything that I talk about is basically anti-oppression work. So whether I'm talking about racism or, homophobia or transphobia or ableism, whatever it is, whatever the type of oppression is, the one thing that I know is that all those systems work the same. And so if you know how to undo one and how to address one, you can transfer that to all of them. And so the new brand is the Everyday Activism Habit. And I'm calling it a habit because that has been my brand all along, is that if you learn how to do these things and how to get out of your comfort zone and how to take effective action on a regular basis and make it a habit, then it's not such a big deal. It's not like, oh, I'm saving up all my energy for the weekend when I go protest, or I'm saving up all my energy for next month when I'm going to go talk to city council, or I'm going to go talk to, my legislators. If you make it a habit to recognize the systems for what they are, to see how they're harming people, whether it's you or the people around you, and wherever you take up space, and then you learn how to speak up, not necessarily in a pointing fingers way or saying you're an oppressor. It's not that. It's recognizing the systems and how they're working, and then figuring out what you can safely do to challenge those systems and to disrupt the systems. And that could be asking questions. Like, if you're in a room full of people who just don't see it, start asking questions. And when they can't answer the hard questions, things get a little uncomfortable, but you don't have to be nasty about it. Or if people are seeing what you're seeing and you've already asked the questions, start making suggestions for things that you can do differently. And I know that, the people who agree with me that abolition is the mission, a lot of people are like, no, it's got to be like hard hitting and it's got to be violent because that's the only way you're going to take back power. And I believe that when it comes to when it's time for that, but I believe in the beginning, getting people to recognize the system, getting people comfortable in their own body so that seeing it for what it is doesn't freak them out and make them run the other way and pretend it's not happening is crucial. So I follow a 4-step process y'all have heard me talk about before. It's self-care, because getting in your body is what makes it possible for all of the other things to happen. Because, what's the thing that I say? Healing is a form of protest. That's the thing. Self-care. Know your facts, because that's how you undo myths and lies. That's how you gain the confidence to speak up when you know what you're talking about. And then the third piece is to undo the work. Get out there and do something different that's going to make a difference. And in my community, I give you suggestions for how to do it in ways that you can get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but not be overwhelmed. And then the last piece is to rest and rejoice. You've got to rest your body. You've got to let that adrenaline get out of your system after you've done something outside your comfort zone. And then you got to look at what you did well, what went right, even if the only thing that went right was that you tried. Okay, because you trying makes a difference to somebody else. And so you got to rest and rejoice so that you don't get disillusioned, so that you give your body a chance to come back to center. And then you start all over again with the self-care. So that's what I'm working on. And I'm hoping it's going to be launching soon. All right, now I'm redoing the website and working on a new workshop too. So I'm excited.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Of course. And especially, and I love each piece, but the rest and rejoice. I know I talked about pause and celebrate the other day on one of the podcasts for my what do we call it? Wisdom and Action. And that's really helped. We had the book signing with 10 of the 18 authors, and then I had the Black Beauty Expo, and I said, okay, next thing is rest. Because Christine asked me what I was doing for self-care, and I talk about all this stuff, and I added running on the list, and that is not the right answer. So we need to recenter.
We did laugh. We did laugh. It was funny because the minute she said it, she could tell my face, like, wait, that's really not Christine, resting.
She was laughing hysterically. She said, Shannon, she was laughing. I said, dang, Christine is laughing at me. This is not good.
It's a good self-care habit. Don't get me wrong, but it's
not on the same list.
That's not rest. Yeah.
And it was interesting because I had stuff that I had been doing, So again, when it comes back to that community and reminding you, don't forget the 4th step. You can do the other 3, but what about number 2? What about number 4? Let's make sure that we're consistent to keep it sustainable.
And I'll tell you, the people who are in my community, the 4th step is the one that they want to skip all the time. They want to get right back to, okay, let me do something. And I'm like, wait a minute, y'all. The rest here is a step for a reason.
Yeah.
On the 4th week when we rest, I don't even teach that week. I usually say something positive and give somebody a video and tell them to go dance. I don't even teach on the 4th week because I mean that about the rest and rejoice.
Yeah. Yeah. And the rejoice, like you said, they might not rest, but the rejoice too, because then you might feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, right? But when you look back and you see all this stuff that you have done because you've been rejoicing and celebrating yourself, it's okay. If the year isn't starting how I thought it would start, it's okay because I did all of this stuff 2023. Like,
exactly.
They will be okay if they have to wait a few days, Yeah.
Well, I also think about as women, especially, like we are starting line. Like we think about all the things we do before we even start to work, right? As we take care of households and take care of people and take care of ourselves, like, and then we start, right? And it's like giving ourselves credit and really honoring probably the 2 to 3 full-time jobs we have, because almost every woman I know is doing at least 2 full-time things.
Yeah,
and it's like. It's a lot, y'all. And we're in this capitalistic society that I know it has me thinking all the time, oh, I should be doing more. I should be like, oh, yeah, I've got a moment. I need to do this. And it's that rest and celebrate piece and the rest and rejoice piece, Sacil. Like, I think I've still got to work on that. I mean, we do it. We always check in with each other and we do it.
We're getting better,
We're getting better. And the allowing ourselves some time, right?
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups, really. 1, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. The story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So yay.
Tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. Especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes. Yeah. And especially because, like you said, too, if we're what did you call it? The primary caregivers, right? If we're the primary caregivers, and that means when everybody's resting and celebrating, guess what? We usually plan that too. We went and got the balloons and the cake and the food and everybody's resting and we're cleaning. And no, you were included in that. You know what I mean? We get to rest and celebrate, and then the next thing comes. It's not setting it up for everybody else, and then we just get to quietly keep going.
Right.
That's what I've been working on for myself.
Whew,
All right.
yeah.
I was laughing when you said quietly keep going because I like to slam cabinets when I'm at that point. Like it's not a quietly keep going. It's like a bang, bang, bang. I'm keeping going in here. That's when I know I'm at my point, right?
Yes.
That's when I'm like, oh, I missed a step here.
Yeah. And I think that, like, what are the cues for yourself in your environment where, oh, maybe I'm past, the day before, we were talking about what we could do to make the event, the Black Beauty Expo, most effective, and they're giving great ideas that are really easy to implement. And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's already a lot. And I'm like, why am I saying no to myself? Because I did that when I started Shayla Glow, did that at the beginning of podcasts and everything, right? Sometimes you say no to the things you should say yes to. And I realized doing the Black Beauty Expo, even though I'm not diabetic, my blood sugar is probably low. I needed to eat and take a break because I had been working for however many hours. It wasn't that I genuinely wanted to say no. It was I'm at capacity of problem solving and being able to see how we can do it. And I just need to step away and come back fresh so that we can make it work for everybody,
Right. I think that totally ties into the environmental wellness and our physical wellness and our emotional and mental wellness, right?
And occupational wellness.
How do we
and social,
right? Just let's put them
all of them. Yeah.
Put it all in there. But like setting ourselves up for success, right? When we think about our environment and we think about what brings us comfort.
Yeah.
And I think part of that comfort, safety, joy, all the things. But I think part of that is noticing, right?
Yeah.
Not just noticing things we don't like or we don't, oh, that carpet needs to be replaced, but, ooh, I really love this pillow.
Yeah.
I like, or what brings us joy and comfort. Y'all know our friend Melody LeBaron. She's got her new Shine On program coming. And she recently was visiting my house because she was coming for the book signing. And so she did a consult with me because I am determined this year to get my systems in order. Right.
You got this. Yes.
And one of her things is always about, what's bringing you joy? What do you love? What lights you up when you walk into a room? What colors light you up? And starting to take notice of that. And, you might not be able to shift it all at once because you may not be in the budget, but you can start to notice and start to, I'm a huge thrift store. I love thrifting. But if I don't know what I'm looking for, I might like if I have an idea of, these colors or, I need this or, So what do y'all think about that?
What do you think, Sacil?
Oh, well, I was here while Melody was here, and I've heard you talking about this afterwards. So definitely yes to the noticing. And you're good at noticing anyway. I mean, with your interplay and everything, you are really good at noticing. And I'm laughing because was it yesterday that I worked and fell into this old habit that I have of, I can just do one more thing. Let me just do one more thing before I stop. And then at the end of the day, my shoulders and neck were sore because I was hunched over the computer because I didn't stop to take a break. And I was like, my neck hurts. And I was like, I know what I'm noticing for today and what I'm not going to do tomorrow. And so today I have taken several breaks and I have been outside. I ate lunch outside, have talked to the trees. So yeah, I get you. The noticing is the only way that you're going to be able to make change. And it's the only way you're going to be able to bring in the things that you want. Because if you don't notice what you like and what you don't like, nothing's going to change.
Right. And that's why I love the episode too with Laura Madison. And we were talking about noticing and not judging. Right.
I love Laura.
Yeah. Like, okay, I kept going and I'm a trooper, right? We said Sacil was the super trooper for the book signing, right? She came the furthest. And we know that sometimes we need to take a break in the middle. And that's what I realized this week too. Like, hey, now that I gotten good at taking the breaks at Papado, but now that it's my schedule in the different businesses, I need to make sure I'm intentional about adding it in, even when big things are coming up, especially when big things are coming up. And for me, it's I can't minimize systems. because it creates a rhythm of familiarity, right? It saves time. It minimizes how much willpower you have to use. So it saves more attention to other things that might be new or that need more focus from you because they may be more difficult for you. And so I think that's what I mean. I definitely don't want to discount my business partners who make me feel safe and do all this stuff. And we have systems and communication systems at work. I definitely feel safe in my romantic relationship and my very close friend relationships and things that I've set up for myself. But we know that things shift. And so in order to keep myself centered in the midst of this environment that changes with laws and whatever is going on, my systems for myself, I can take with me. And no matter if it's Topgolf, this time last year, I was setting up systems and when I get in at 5 a.m. for inventory, make sure you put your keys in your bag or you're not going to know where they are. That system changed when I got to Papado because now it's a new thing. But once I got it, it made me be able to fall into any team that I'm on and make me feel safe so that I can do my goals for that day.
Yeah, and you're calling them systems, and with everyday activism habit, we call them habits. It's the same thing.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, James, I think we've mentioned him on the show before, but James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits.
Yes, we've mentioned him.
Though we do not rise to the level of our aspirational organizing goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And boy, that was really apparent when I was traveling and doing caregiving for my dad. Like when I got home, I could tell, okay, which systems were working when I was here and which systems were not. So, Shannon and I were just talking about this today, Sacil, about like taking a moment and pausing and auditing our business systems and what's working, what's not working, what can we tweak, like not to be harsh or critical with ourselves, but just to check in and pay attention. And I think about that with the work you do. And for folks that might have been doing activism work for a long time, or they've done it, but they're not doing it every day, right? Like it's kind of a check-in with themselves and their environment and their systems.
Yeah, and when you said that quote from James Clear, it made me think about a job that I had a while back where things were not working well. I had my systems, but they were clashing with what was going on in the business. And somebody that I worked with, he told me, he said, "You're not going to win this battle." And I was like, "What do you mean? I've got good systems. I've got good relationships." And he said, "The systems in the organization are not designed for you to win. And if it's between you and an organizational system, you are going to lose every time. So stop putting your energy there." And that's in alignment with the way that I teach, because this is not about having to suck it up and get up the energy to go out there and do the right thing. This is about, integrating this into the way that you work and the way that you live, so that wherever you take up space, you embody, this social justice. It's not about, I'm going to be out there and, publicly be part of this movement, so that I can be on TV or so that I can get recognition. It's about, okay, I'm going out into the world, and how am I going to bring this notion of social justice and my values of equality and equity? How am I going to bring that into everything that I do today? And when it becomes a habit like that, then you know that you are making a difference in the spaces where you take up space, whether that's at work or where you volunteer or at church or just with your family. Or with the people that you meet online. If you're the one that if you see something, you're going to say, "Hey, I just noticed this, y'all. Why is this like this? Is there something else that we can change with this?" If you're bringing that attitude and the confidence to actually name it and call it out, then it's a habit.
Right. Well, and it's changing the culture and the environment and the world one person at a time, which is how we do it, right?
And when you're modeling that behavior, the other people, even if they don't know, okay, I am intentionally making this a habit, they see you do it often enough, they're going to start doing it.
I love that. I love that.
So each week we do a wisdom in action, right? Sacil, when we talk about environmental wellness and your wisdom in action this week, what are you working on?
Oh, this week. Oh, my wisdom in action this week is that I need to get outside. I need to be outside. I'm hoping, Christine, we can hit one more waterfall. I need to be outside this week for real.
I love that. Yeah, I've been intentional about my outside time too. What's your hashtag, Christine? Do you know what yours is yet?
I'm going to say hashtag incremental steps. So, as I'm changing my systems, as I'm getting organized, decluttering, incremental steps. Actually, I'm also going to add hashtag shine on and give a shout out for Melody LeBaron's class. Her class starts next Monday, y'all, and we'll put a link in the chat. She only offers this class once a year, and I highly recommend it. It is an incredible community, and I've made great progress, and I still need more. So hashtag shine on and hashtag incremental steps.
I love how Melody ties in your emotional wellness with your environmental space. Right? The two are tied. She doesn't just say, "Oh, clean this up." She's like, how do you feel, and why do you manifest things this way, and helps you uncover that stuff. So when you make the change, it's permanent or
and she also believes in having a relationship with your home and with your outdoor space and all of that. Karen gave you a shout out.
Karen.
Right?
Thank you.
Absolutely doing it with compassion and loving kindness. What about you, Shannon? What's your wisdom in action?
Let's see. My wisdom, environmental. Last week I was talking about speaking and writing with clarity. That definitely happened, right? It's happening. What else? Let's see. I think I'm good on that. Things you can do to help make it a habit. I think that I'm going to say, and this, I wonder, sometimes I overthink social media and hashtags. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to say stay connected in wisdom. Okay. Stay connected in wisdom, because the environment are the communities that we're building, right? We're building the teams, building the businesses, and follow-up is something I've been working on the past few years. So I have a lot of follow-up to do from our book signing, from the Black Beauty Expo. So women, men, whoever it is, whoever is connected and whoever's platform I end up on, or if they come to the Women Connected in Wisdom, I'm going to say stay connected in wisdom, and that way I stay consistent on reaching out.
I love that.
All right.
Yeah.
I also, before we say goodbye, Sacil, I also want to give a shout out. Shannon is speaking on Monday at my daughter's college, actually.
Yes.
She's speaking at Agnes Scott. And I don't know if y'all saw environmental wellness, because it was all over the news this week. So their library looks like Hogwarts. I love it. I could literally live in that library. And they had a barred owl that fell down the chimney and was flying around the library. So if you've ever watched Harry Potter, it was, and then the barred owl was there for 2 days, because it would hide in the rafters. So the environmental people that came to try to rescue the owl couldn't get it because the ceilings were so high. So environmental wellness and humor all at the same time.
Love a good app workout. That's what I call it.
Right. Well, Sacil, thank you so much for being with us today. We're excited for your new community, the Everyday Activism Habit. We'll put a link to it in our show notes. Y'all check it out.
So good.
And I know you're going to be having some offer or something coming up soon. So we'll make sure and share that out on social media. And
thank you.
So if our listeners follow and like us on, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, find us, we're there, Women Connected Wisdom Podcast, and you'll also get connected to Sacil. And so grateful
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Always such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my goodness. So good.
Yes.
Always so good.
Really.
All right. What are you thinking for your environment this week?
I'm thinking about this community because, we just launched. We're about to go over there at 6:15, and I am super excited about it. This is what we were talking about. I know we've been doing Manifestation Mondays now for 5 years, and I don't remember when we brought it up. Hey, we should do this. We should have conversations more places, but we're I think this, and then the retreat, and we'll have done everything that we talked about.
That we dreamed about. And more, right?
Yeah.
And when I had that realization today about storytelling and about taking my own storytelling, but then helping to uplift other women's voices and their stories, and their I was like, all right, let's do this.
I'm super excited.
Me too. Thanks for being on this journey with me, my friend.
Absolutely.
So grateful for you.
Absolutely. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for joining us for episode 102, Environmental Wellness. If you're in the community, come on over. We're about to start at 6:15. We'll see you guys soon. If you are not, we'll be live at 5 next week here to talk about the next dimension of wellness. In the meantime, don't forget,
Be well.
be wise, and be whole.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.